Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever it is, wherever you are. Thank you once again for listening to the Backlog Busting Project. It is episode 13, and it is episode 2 of Metal Gear Month. So we're going to get right into it. I'm Wes, with me as always is Randy.
Randy, for now, in about 15 minutes, I'll be replaced by Raiden. Rudin.
When you said Raiden the first time, for some reason all I could think was Mortal Kombat.
I'm getting replaced by something. Maybe Sean will come replace me. But that'll be an upgrade, so that'll be different than what we'll be talking about. So
Jesus. So, since this is, again, special episode, no player day this time around, and no news roundup, we're just going to talk about Metal Gear games for the next 90 minutes or so. Starting with Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, released November 12, 2001 on the PlayStation 2. We both played on the HD collection, which was released November 8th, 2011 on the PS3. This one, I remember this was kind of like the archetype almost for how a AAA game started to get hype in the PlayStation 2 and later eras. Because, it started getting, these big budget trailers and whatnot. It kind of became the standard for how big games kind of had info trickle out. Because I guess maybe it was just Metal Gear Solid 2 was around the time I started paying attention more to, the way games were, advertised. But it's the first one in my mind that used this kind of template that we've been seeing for years now.
yeah, I'm right there with you. And I think it also, 2001, people were figuring out the internet a bit more. Mm-hmm. And that was becoming a thing. And Hideo Kojima was definitely, he's a movie guy. And you see that in his games, so that's just a logical step for him, is to have trailers and sneak peeks and all of that. So it definitely makes sense that the first of that kind of thing happened with Metal Gear Solid. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, all of the things that you'd see, whether it was TV or internet or on magazines and stuff, got everyone so hyped for this game.
So, as Randy kind of alluded to, there was one major twist in particular that happened in this game that Kojima kind of did not reveal at all beforehand. Like, there was no indication this was coming. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll start off with first, I believe it's 2 years after Shadow Moses. I believe.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Time frame wise. Solid Snake infiltrates a tanker that has a new Metal Gear stored below decks. And as he jumps off the George Washington Bridge with his stealth camo and a bungee cord that suddenly appears in the HD edition and looks really janky and jarring and out of place, but I digress, he gets on there and the ship gets taken over by Russians. So now he's like, okay, now there are two people after this Metal Gear prototype. What the hell's going on? He infiltrates he gets to the bridge, gets the nav thing, and while he's there, he spots basically the second in command of the operation, Olga Gurlukovich, Sergei Gurlukovich's daughter.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. Gurlukovich. There we go. English. Or Russian.
Yes.
Anyway, Sergei wants Olga to get off the boat because she's pregnant. Olga goes, no, I'm staying on the boat with the unit, my family, blah, 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 family drama. You shoot her full of tranquilizers and proceed below decks. And
now hold on. I mean, this is one of those things that there's a lot of things in this game in particular that make you shake your head at, like, is this reality? Mm-hmm. So she's pregnant,
which is kind of the point. I'd argue, but
you shoot her full of tranks, and it doesn't mess up her pregnancy.
Well, considering who her kid turns out to be,
yeah, the sweetest little girl of all time who struggles with eggs.
And can't walk very well, or talk.
Well, that just happens from not going outside ever.
Yeah, true.
But No. I just one of those things that is like, man, you shoot her with a lot of tranquilizers.
Yeah. It's like, okay, sure. Yeah, it is kind of weird, especially if you are a raging asshole and shoot more tranks into her after the fight is over. And Otacon calls you a dick.
Is that what you did?
No. Not this time around, anyway. Maybe back 10 years ago when I sucked at this game and was pissed off because I died like 5 times in a row or whatever. But this time around, no, I tranked her, moved on. Anyway, speaking of moving on, you go down below decks because the next step is you need to get photographic evidence of this new Metal Gear. So, and you're proceeding below decks, and unbeknownst to Solid Snake, Revolver Ocelot is there. And he kind of takes out a few guards behind you. And, you get into a couple firefights along the way, but you get down into the holds, sneak past 3 rooms of armed Marines, including stuff that, again, kind of go to the reality point. I'm very thankful this game doesn't have hyper-realism, because some of the stuff you have to do to get by the Marines without getting spotted, you're sitting there like, how does nobody notice or hear this? Because there's one section where you have to crawl right behind somebody. And you'd figure they'd at least be like, something's moving right behind me. Even if you can't hear it, you feel something, kind of have a sense of spatial awareness, basically,
Or just the fact that even when you're not right behind somebody, but you're just off to the side, not every single Marine is looking at that screen 100% of the time.
Yeah. But again, if it were hyper-realistic, it'd be impossible. But anyway, so you get to the main hold, and you take your pictures of Metal Gear, and, make Otacon laugh if you've taken other pictures on the tanker. Like of the Vulcan Raven doll, or of I think you could get a picture of Ocelot and freak him out. But, or like the various posters you could find in the lockers. That was one of the funnier parts of the game to me, was uploading dumb pictures to see how Otacon would react.
I just like the humor in it, really. I mean, there was a lot more humor in this than the first Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
They definitely add in the humor.
Yeah, especially 4, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves here. Anyway, so you finally get all 4 of the pictures you need, and Otacon goes, okay, get the hell out of there. Before you can do that, though, Ocelot shows his face, hijacks Metal Gear Ray, kills the Marine Commandant, kills Sergei Glukovich, and he says he's taking this weapon back for the Patriots, and blows the tanker up, and presumably kills Solid Snake. So, we then cut to 2 years later, and a masked agent with the codename Snake is infiltrating the big shell that was erected on top of this massive oil spill to clean up the oil spill from what's now being called the tanker incident. And he's infiltrating the big shell because a terrorist training unit known as Dead Cell hijacked the big shell and took the president hostage. So he's trying to stop the terrorists, rescue the president, all that good stuff. And right away, the first thing he's told is, we're changing your code name to Raiden. So...
listen, we'll get into whether we like Raiden or not, his character, the way he moves, all that stuff. I mean, we're going to talk about it, because that's the big issue with the game for some people. I have no problem with a new character at this point. Because, I mean, obviously, for most Americans, we had just played the one game. So, having one more and it's somebody completely different, whatever. Right. I mean, yes, there's a bait and switch there, and Raiden is never talked about, but I actually kind of liked that surprise back in the day. Yeah. When you play it for the first time. But the thing that gets me going back and playing it is, why did they call him Snake at all? Like, you can almost tell from the beginning, this is not Solid Snake. Just from the way he's swimming, and it's not, I mean, they've already acted like Snake has died. So just go, hey, we have a new recruit in Foxhound, and his name's Raiden. It's like, why call him Snake at all when they change his name before you even start?
Yeah. I think part of it was to kind of maintain that illusion for as long as they could, because, they probably wanted to go, of course he didn't die there, though, and have him, have you have that illusion of, okay, now what's Solid Snake doing? But, I can get where you're coming from with that, but I see it as they just wanted to try and pull that string just a little bit further before they drove home the plot twist, so to speak. But to me, again, I don't have a problem with Raiden either. I've never had a problem with him. I don't really see why the internet got in a big huff about it. I mean, yeah, he does have his kind of dorky moments, like, did you just say nerd? And I think a lot of his dorky moments come right during this introduction when people were still like, what the fuck, why am I playing as this guy instead of Solid Snake now?
But I kind of like that about him, that he's not like Solid Snake. Mm-hmm. I mean, throughout all of the conversations you get in the game, it's him going, I've done a lot of VR missions, and I've done all of this, and he's never meant to be this amazing war veteran. He is like what Solid Snake was in the first Metal Gear. Mm-hmm. He's that rookie that you just know is being used.
Yeah. So Raiden gets his new code name, and, they reaffirm his mission. And his initial mission is to basically do recon, figure out what's going on, and maybe meet up with SEAL Team or shade SEAL Team to try to figure out where the president is. All right, so you get your marching orders, and you intercept a radio communication and figure out where one of the SEAL teams is. And so you. They found the president and they're trying to evac him. And then they get attacked. So Campbell tells you, get your ass over there. And, you get your ass over there and you're just in time to see Vamp, one of the members of Dead Cell. Best mashup ever. But
that's Metal Gear Solid 5.
Excuse me, those are those who don't exist. Anyway, so, Vamp is wrecking shit. And, for some reason, he inexplicably stops when he's facing down the lone survivor. And he gets chased off. And Raiden goes to talk with the lone survivor, who introduces himself as Lieutenant Junior Grade Iroquois Pliskin. And, Lieutenant J.G. Pliskin bears a striking resemblance to, Solid Snake, which kinda gets commented on, but, not really. And
it's also one of the big issues I have in this game.
Yeah.
Well, at this point. And I guess, in the end it gets explained, and I'll mm-hmm. I mean, obviously there's spoilers, we're gonna get to it, but I guess let me explain what my issue was here, and then when we get to that point I'll go, okay, duh.
Yeah.
But they show multiple times in this entire game that Campbell can hear all of these conversations that Raiden has, right? Mm-hmm. How does he not recognize Snake's voice?
That is a really fucking good point. Holy shit, I never thought of that. Yeah. Because I actually have kind of a similar voice-related issue later on in the game. So, we will...
Now, do you want me to give the explanation now, or explain it later when we get to it?
Let's explain it later when we get to it, because I also have another little bit that has already happened, but ties into, I think, where you're going, so we'll get to that later.
Okay.
So
basically you go from meeting Vamp to cutscene after cutscene after cutscene after cutscene after cutscene.
Metal Gear Solid.txt.
But it's not even just that. It's like, I don't know if you've played any of the Xenosaga games, which are also known for crazy long cutscenes.
I haven't played them, but I've heard of them.
This section reminds me of the first of those, the Xenosaga stuff, where it's like long cutscene, well, let's make sure the player's awake. We'll give him control, and he'll walk through one door, and we'll go back into a cutscene. Because, literally, you don't do anything other than go from this point to that point, and all of a sudden you're seeing them blow up the bridge to the main shell area in Shell 1 or whatever. That connecting bridge. You see them blow that up. So then you go that way, and then you meet something else. And then you go, okay, now there's bombs. So then you go and you meet the bomb people. And it's like, I don't even know if I saw an enemy in that entire time. So,
you meet up Pliskin, you guys decide, well, we better go defuse some of these bombs now that the SEAL teams have been pretty much wiped out. So you go to meet Stillman.
Yes.
And along the way, I think you meet Fortune at this point.
Yeah, Fortune's the one that blows up the bridge.
Yeah. Actually, the SEAL team blows up the bridge by trying to blow up Fortune.
Okay, you're done.
Because she fires her railgun, that's right. After they try to throw grenades and shoot at her, she fires that railgun, and that blows up the bridge. Anyway, so, you've kind of met the Dead Cell, two of the main players of Dead Cell, Vamp, who has all these freaking weird abilities, and Fortune, right?
Yes.
Who can't get hit. And you're going around trying to disarm these bombs planted by Fat Man, the third member of Dead Cell.
So what did you think of that section of this game? To me, it kind of shows the weakness of this game, and just in the fact that it's so small. I mean, the map itself and the places that you go is such a confined area.
Yeah.
That even, I didn't mind double timing back to all of these places, but, all of these struts on the outside are, as big as my living room, it seemed like. It was there's the main office room and you just go around it. And that's a whole strut. And it was I kind of understand it, whatever.
Yeah, limitations.
Some limitations, but, Metal Gear Solid 1 was much bigger. But they confine it's just the area of where they're at. Obviously you're not going to have amazing set pieces like 3. Because that's in the jungle and out and all that. Here you're confined in an oil refinery deal or cover up setup.
Yeah.
And to me, well,
yeah, I know.
It's one of those. It's a cool idea, but I really think it constricted what they can do. And I found myself struggling with the sneaking around because there was literally a path. Just as an example, there's the one where all of the crates and stuff are in the basement. There's a path that you go down. So it's there was no longer Metal Gear Solid where you can sneak around and get through the stuff without ever getting seen and never having to shoot anybody. In this game it was, you're gonna have to shoot people. Whether it's tranking them or killing them for real. You had to take them out to get around anywhere.
Yeah. I can kind of see that. There are a few points you brought up during that I kind of want to contend a little bit, though.
Go for it.
Metal Gear Solid 1, I think, made it feel like it was a bit more open, but if you, go, point-by-point comparison, I think you'll find they're pretty similar, 1 and 2, size-wise. The other thing about 2 is I think a lot of it was the limitations of the engine they used. Because I remember one of the things being built up for 3 was that they managed to go back into the engine and open, really retinker it so that it could be far more open and wide and whatnot. Because they realized that 2 was kind of confined.
Yeah.
They did their best with what they had.
No, I'm not saying it's a terrible thing about it, and I definitely enjoyed the game. It was just one of those things that it really made you use your gun more than I was hoping to when playing this game.
So, you finish disarming the bombs, and after a few kind of false starts, and then Stillman gets blown the fuck up by a bomb that he didn't see coming. Because Fat Man, outsmarted him.
And they bring that up where even Stillman's going, well, this doesn't make any sense, because of where all the bomb placements were.
Yeah.
Which I kind of laughed at because every single bomb placement was in low-level areas, low-level key cards. If they were meant to blow shit up, Fat Man could have just put one in key card 6, and you would have never got to it.
Yeah.
But, that's just a gameplay thing and whatever.
Yeah.
But So then we get to the meat of this section, and that is the Fat Man fight. Your first legit boss fight, because, I mean, Olga wasn't much.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What do you think of this fight?
It may just be my love for the character, because I absolutely love the idea of a morbidly obese man in a bomb suit on roller skates, sipping wine with a crazy straw. Yelling at you to laugh and grow fat. But I actually liked the concept of this fight, because you go up onto the Strut, I think it's the Strut E helipad.
E or F, but yeah. I think you might be right.
But, you go up onto the helipad and, it's empty, and all of a sudden you just hear laughing and him rolling around on his skates arming bombs, and then you just go into this fight where he laughs at you while skating circles around you while you try to freeze his bombs. And then once you do that for a bit, you track him down, knock his ass down, and then put a couple of bullets into his skull. Or if you're like me, tranq darts.
And that was the only issue I had in this fight, was I was playing on the Vita, which I'm sure limited my controllability at times for like pinpoint accuracy quickly, which, I mean, because he jumps back up. But I'd be knocking him down, and then by the time I got there to be able to shoot him in the head, he was
long gone.
Back up, and that was the only issue I had with it. I love the fact that you had to manage where he was and the bombs he was placing, and then, I mean, the longer the fight went on, the less time you had to defuse the bombs, and it added a little bit of urgency to it, and it was a little different than most of the other boss fights we've done in the series. So I agree with you. I enjoyed the fight for sure.
So you finally put enough bullets or tranq darts in him to either nearly kill him or nearly knock him out. And he laughs at you for a bit. You freeze his last bomb, which he somehow manages to plant underneath him.
He's an expert.
Yep. But and then you do that, and a ninja in a cyborg exoskeleton comes to you, initially calls themselves Deep Throat.
Yeah. And
then, Raiden immediately goes, I think Raiden actually says Shadow Moses, doesn't he? Or does he say Watergate? I can't remember. But
I think he says Shadow Moses.
But anyway, he then goes, okay, Mr. X then, and Raiden doesn't let the Shadow Moses thing drop for a bit, which I kind of found a little weird. But anyway, Mr. X tells Raiden, okay, the president's in the Shell 1 core, but it's, really guarded. But I've got an outfit for you. You just need to find an AK. So, you go find the AK, get into the Shell 1 core, which I actually kind of liked that section a little bit too, because, it was a nice little balance of, yeah, they can't spot you, but if you do anything weird, then you're gonna be in deep shit.
Yeah.
Like if you crawl into a locker or whatever in front of somebody.
It gave you a little bit of a Hitman feel.
Yeah. So, you infiltrate the Shell 1 core, and, using the hint given to you, directional microphone, right?
Yes.
Which is, you find the Secret Service agent Ames, who has information on the president's whereabouts. Ames tells you, where the president is, but he also tells you this is a huge, the big shell's housing a new Metal Gear, and this is all a cover-up, blah, 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 Patriots. I think this is the first time the Patriots get mentioned. And this is also the first time you overhear, the leader of the terrorist group, who claims to be Solid Snake, which is, an interesting little twist, talking with Revolver Ocelot and Olga. Also, again, using the directional microphone. And so, you hear some of their backstory. And, then Ames tells you a bit more. Ocelot comes in, and then he shoots Ames dead. And then, you have to escape the Shell 1 core, because Ocelot takes off your face mask. And you, are armed with the information on where the president is. So now you have to go, free him.
Yes.
So you do that, and to stop the Metal Gear biological check. So you shoot Nikita missile, get into his place, and the president crotch grabs you because he thinks you're a girl. For some fucking reason. Which I kind of found weird, because by the time the president crotch grabs you and goes, oh, you're a guy? He's already heard Raiden speak. Why the fuck did he ever think that?
Hey!
You know?
Well, we skipped something that I want to bring up. You skipped your second boss battle with the jet. That is going into the second strut.
Huh. I have my memory of this game all whacked up then. Wow.
Anyways, what do you think of that boss?
Well, judging by the fact that I almost skipped over it entirely, apparently I didn't find it too memorable. It just kind of felt like a rehash of the Hind D fight from 1 to me, but it didn't really bring too much new to the table. You know, it was just kind of it's a fight against a huge, flying vehicle and you have Stinger missiles. Have at it.
Yeah, that's what I had here too, is just like it. I kind of actually liked it a little bit better. Mm-hmm. There was more to do. I mean, obviously your space was a little bit more confined and you had the 2 levels that you could go to try to figure things out, and you had Snake throwing shit at you all the time to keep your inventory up. But I agree. I just wanted to bring it up because it was worth mentioning as a boss. But
that's also the point where you find out, as if you hadn't already guessed by this point, that Iroquois Pliskin is Solid Snake.
Yes.
And then also you find out that actually you don't find out what the leader's actual name yet is. Do you? He does get his eye blown out.
Yes, which is a great callback to Big Boss, obviously.
Yeah. So, and then you also see Vamp running on water because of fucking course. Yeah. As if he didn't have enough weird shit going on already.
So let's go back to the present real quick, since we're already there. One of the issues I had with it was they said you couldn't get a hold of the president because he was locked in a room where nanomachines didn't work. Mm-hmm. So how the hell could Campbell listen in to the conversation if nanomachine communication does not work in that room? Because you talk to the president in that room, and all of a sudden Campbell calls you while you're in that room and says, oh yeah, he said this and that, and well, now we have to do this. How?
Huh. Could it be maybe something like when you disabled the electric floor, it also disabled the now communication block?
That is very possible. But it was just one of those things that I was like...
We would be excellent at CinemaSins, by the way. That seems like a thing like you would get a ding for, you know what I mean?
But again, the thing I want to reveal in a little bit might answer it, but...
Yeah.
So anyways, we get through that part. And then you go and we have to find...
And Ocelot kills the president right before the vitals can be reconfirmed.
True. That is true. I forgot.
Just kind of I'm trying not to spurg out about every single part of this storyline, and I apologize because we are taking up a lot of time. But that is kind of an important little detail there. So now your marching orders from the president are now go find the systems designer for this new Metal Gear, Emma Emmerich.
Yes. Who can't swim.
Yeah.
And is stuck in a place surrounded by water, but
that is slowly drowning into the bottom of the ocean. Yeah. So,
but I liked her character. I mean, she was sweet and innocent and had a crush on Raiden, it looked like.
Yeah. Well, here's the you just did something I almost did. You skipped a boss fight. Vamp.
Well, that was in it.
Yeah.
That was during that. Emma's there.
No, she isn't. No, you fight Vamp on your way to Emma.
Oh, that's true.
Because you take a break with Emma in the Emma sequence. In the room you fight Vamp in. So, Vamp is actually the first time I had massive issues with the boss fights in this game, and I think that's solely because I was trying to tranquil him. Because I took a far less lethal approach to these games, starting with in this episode. And so, for some reason, I could not, for the life of me, avoid Vamp's attacks while tranking him. And I eventually ended up doing a really cheesy method to beat the fight, which I won't go into specifics here, but it basically involved flipping over a railing and bugging out his AI, so I could get a free combo in. Repeatedly. But,
I remember, I think I died a couple times on it, just trying to get used to the mechanics, and the one time I was completely owning the fight, I went to dodge one of his attacks and fell right into
the super oxidated water that you sink like a stone in.
Yeah. Yeah. That was wonderful. Get 3/4 of the way through the fight and then jump in and instant death.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Vamp seemingly drowns after this confrontation, and you go find Emma, who, go back about a minute and listen to Randy's character description of her.
Yep.
So, she reveals some of the family history of the Emmerich family, and, her and Otacon kind of get into it a little bit. And
that's a wonderful family.
Yeah. Yeah, and it gets even more screwed up. But, you get her across the struts onto the connecting oil bridge, and you have to cover her as a sniper. And there are a few bits you can listen to on the directional microphone to kind of expand her story. But she gets almost across to the other bridge, and Vamp pops up out of the water, and, there's a segment where you have to shoot him in the head a couple times. And the problem I had here was, from where I was sitting, it looked like Snake had a clear shot at Vamp, and he does not take it. Like, to me, Snake had a better shot at Vamp, if I'm looking at the vantage points correctly.
That's possible, but it's also... Well, they screwed
I know
up
it's a gameplay thing.
Yeah,
again, but it's just kind of like, Snake, you got the side view here. I'm sitting here, and he's,
But Snake's getting old, and he didn't take the...
Pentazimate.
Thank you, so he was shaky, and...
Well, he has the cigarettes for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, Vamp, before he gets scared off again by your pro sniping skills, manages to stab Emma in the stomach and, get a lot of her internal organs from behind, which is a pretty interesting, feat of stabbing there. But, so you take the grievously injured Emma, she manages to half install the worm that's going to destroy the Arsenal Gear AI, which is named GW.
Yes.
And, she dies, and that causes Otacon to fully,
lose it.
Yeah, lose it, and also talk about how his stepdad committed suicide because he was banging banging the stepmother, which is like, fucking really, Kojima? Did that really need to be a plot point here?
Well, we'll get into it in 3 and 4, but Kojima's messed up.
Yeah.
I mean, all due respect. Kojima has a thing with women in a weird way that I still don't understand.
Yeah. So, at this point, Arsenal Gear is about ready to launch, and Emma has died, and we're not sure if the worm is working. And so Otacon and Snake kind of have a bro moment, where Snake says Otacon's the only one that can get the hostages out. And after Otacon leaves with the hostages, it's just you, Raiden, and Snake. And all of a sudden, Snake goes, oh, hey, you can come out now, and out comes the ninja, who reveals themselves to be Olga. And then cold cocks you.
Yes.
With one of the best lines in the game. I thought you were, or one of the best exchanges in the game. Raiden goes to Snake, I thought you were on our side, and Snake goes, funny, I don't remember, it's, you're switching sides now, and Snake goes, funny, I don't recall ever saying I was on yours.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I liked the way they were kind of, everyone was saying, Solid Snake's a bad guy, and then you realize he's not, and then he's like, but I'm not with you.
Yeah.
So you go down, and all of a sudden, same torture chamber as Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
And you're just hanging out there naked.
Yep.
And
because of course you are.
And very Austin Powers-y things are blocking a certain area that no one wants to see anyways.
Yeah. And
Olga lets you out after basically saying, listen, we had to do that so we can get in here.
Mm-hmm.
So, Solid Snake has your stuff.
Yep.
But you have to go find him.
Yeah. I can't help you any more than I already have. Yeah. And she also says, doesn't she also tell you that she's doing this for a reason? Oh wait, no, she doesn't say that until the later boss fight. Anyway, so you start making your way through Arsenal Gear and cartwheeling with no hands, which is amazing. Nice little athletic skill there by Raiden. So you get through some of the hardest sneaking of the game, I think, and you finally, as you get closer to where you think Snake is, suddenly Colonel Campbell starts acting really, really weird. Like, he calls you up and, his voice changes a little bit and, he's saying nonsense like, I need scissors, 61, really weird stuff like that.
And saying lines from, like, the old Metal Gear games, and you see maps of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Gameplay from it.
And then, like, the mission is a failure. Cut power to the PlayStation now, etc., etc.
Which, and here, the two questions I brought up about Campbell, I think gets explained here. Because it is revealed at this point that Campbell is not Campbell. Mm-hmm. He's just,
he's part of the AI in Arsenal Gear,
it's just a simulator.
Yeah.
Which, again, like I said, going back, that's why Campbell doesn't recognize Snake. That's probably why he can hear into that room, because he's part of the AI and he's
hooked in.
He's getting used.
Yeah.
Which, at that point, a lot of people go look back and think, oh my god, you're doing these stupid cartwheels while naked and is right and he's terrible. Not only is that just a funny segment because of the things that Campbell is saying, but it reveals a lot, I think, from the entire game about how you have been used by this GW thing and how everything you know is completely not right. We haven't even, and I don't want to because
that ending is something else.
I'm not talking about that. There's a part in this entire story we haven't even talked about, and I just want to bring it up briefly because it was my least favorite part of the game. Rose. Obviously that relationship is a thing and very much in the game. Yes, the random conversations you get.
Do you remember what day it is tomorrow? Yeah.
Completely takes you out of it, but at this point is also a big thing because Rose is also AI and is there to trigger emotions from Raiden and keep him focused on his mission. So, like I said, I don't really want to bring her up that much because, to me, that whole story was kind of But this was a great ending to that part.
Well, actually, there's Rose is real for part of the game.
Yeah,
but
at the
anyway,
end. But this is this part of the game. This is the end of the Rose stuff.
Yeah. Anyway,
the fake Rose.
Yeah. I mentioned I had something that kind of tied into the Campbell isn't, actually Campbell reveal. And it's actually, if you pay attention during the opening part of the plant chapter when they're, kind of rehashing tutorial mechanics, he actually, word for word, says the exact same dialogue for, like, the Soliton radar and looking around, and I think actually even swimming controls. Some of the swimming control stuff, he repeats word for word the tutorials from Metal Gear Solid 1. Like, he even, while you're talking about the Soliton radar, he goes, yes, it gets jammed easily, I'm afraid. Which I thought was kind of, when I first noticed it, I was like, well, that's weird. And then, once they tied in the reveal to it, once, they did the AI reveal, I was like, holy shit, that's why he repeated the lines, because
he's just taking it from that
previous experience. Yeah. So, you meet up with Solid Snake. He gives you your gear back, plus a bitchin' high-frequency sword for some reason.
Because he doesn't need it, because he has the infinite ammo bandana, which is another one of my favorite parts of this game.
So, you play around with the sword for a bit, and you go back-to-back badasses with Snake as you fight through the last couple of rooms of Arsenal Gear. And then finally you get cornered by Fortune again. And in one of the most missed badass moment opportunities in the series as a whole, Snake stays behind to fight Fortune, who actually wants to fight Solid Snake because she thinks Solid Snake killed her father, Scott Dolph, back on the tanker. You miss the fight between Solid Snake and Fortune because Raiden has to go, climb upstairs and stop Solidus. right?
Well, it's because this was on the PS2 and not PS3, where you can have side-by-side fights like Vampin' Raiden.
In 4, yeah. Anyway, so you climb up and you get to the top, to the last room of Arsenal Gear, which is called the Rectum, which I always giggle like a 12-year-old at. But and Solidus goes, "Well, you're really fucking up my plans here. Here, eat a whole bunch of Metal Gear Rays." And so you have to fight like, I think it's 8 Metal Gear Rays on normal. And finally Raiden gives up, and Olga comes in to save his ass. And Olga basically goes, "You can't die, because if you do, the Patriots kill my baby." Yeah. Solidus goes, "Too damn bad," kills Olga.
And how crazy is it that in Metal Gear 1, you fight one Rex, and you have a bitch of a time because of all the crazy moves. Now here's this Ray thing, and I had a bitch of a time in this fight just because some of the controls and...
Get good, scrub.
Yeah, well...
Well, if you check out our stats on the site, which we'll post with this episode, you'll understand why I just said that.
Yeah, because you beat me by...
A lot. But we'll
You beat me by 30 seconds!
No, I mean, I meant the other stats-wise.
Yeah, but, 6 continues, you were alerted 9 more times, and I killed a few more people.
Oh, the salt is real. The salt is real.
I don't understand. I mean, you really want? Let's look at the overall stats, asshole. God damn it. Just because I had to struggle with one goddamn fight.
Yes!
Do you understand here? God damn it.
Oh, man.
I had to struggle with one fight in this game. I beat Vamp way easier than you.
It's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, back on track. I apologize, but back on track.
No, my point is, you kill like 8 of these things on normal, even more if you do it on hard difficulty level.
Yeah.
How shitty is Ray?
I think they actually hand-wave that and go the Rays you're fighting, since they're mass-produced, to use like weaker armor or something like that. If you were fighting a Ray that was, like the prototype Ray from like the Tanker chapter, if you were fighting that, I think they would, you would have a harder time. But I think if you actually call during, those boss fights, anybody that you can, like if you call Otacon, I think he'll go, yeah, these are mass produced, so they're using weaker armor. You just have to, persevere, or at least, I remember reading that explanation somewhere. But anyway.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, so Olga sacrifices herself, and it's kind of, you're kind of at a stalemate because, then the virus kicks in and the Rays start trying to attack Solidus. Everything goes sideways. And now you're all on top of Arsenal Gear, and it's kind of like a reset button for the plot, because all of a sudden fucking everybody shows up. Because it's like, well, it's the end of the game, time to wrap this shit up. So, Fortune comes up, she's subdued Solid Snake. Ocelot comes up, and, things basically go pear-shaped. Ocelot finally reveals he's a double agent for the Patriots, and tries to kill everybody. Liquid takes over Ocelot's arm, through Ocelot's arm, and goes, "I'm gonna go kill the Patriots now." Solid Snake breaks out, chases after the Ray, and now it's Arsenal Gear crashes into Manhattan, and it ends up being Raiden versus Solidus on top of Federal Hall. But before that happens, you have to sit through a long-ass codex cutscene where, the Patriots, through the Colonel Campbell AI, basically explain what has been going on throughout the entire game.
Oh, you just brought up something that I meant to bring up earlier, and I want to see what you think. Mm-hmm. Again, I understand why they did it, is, system limitations and all of that, because you can't have that many cutscenes. And it's the same with Metal Gear Solid, where instead of having these face-to-face talks, it was in codec.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 2 drove me nuts so much, because you would meet somebody face-to-face, and they'd go, well, I'm worried about people listening in, so let's go to nanomachines. Just so they could go into that. But people could listen into that! They go into nanomachines, and all of a sudden, the fake Curl is listening in. I mean, he could listen anyways, but it was like, it's not keeping it private.
Yeah.
It was just an excuse to do that.
Yeah.
And, because then they could just bring up the main screen or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was like...
you could tell it was kind of like, well, shit, we need to go to Nano. Fuck it. Yeah.
But that was just my favorite thing. It was like, well, we need to do this. No one listens in. And then you get done with that call, and then Campbell calls you, and, oh yeah, so you guys talked about this and that, and he said this.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
So what did you think of the Solidus fight?
It's weird, because I remember having so many issues with it when the game first came out, but for this run-through, and mind you, I hadn't played 2 in years, I cut through him like butter.
I liked it.
I mean, I liked it thematically, but as, mechanically, it was just kind of like, welp.
So I like this fight. It's one of those things, and you see this, actually, in all 4 of the Solid games, this kind of a fight at the end. I think I would put this above the Liquid fight in Metal Gear Solid 1. I mean, you had a bit more room.
Yeah.
Solidus had a lot more things you could do.
No timer.
No timer on top of it. And I agree with you. I remember having a harder time with it years ago when I first played it, but for whatever reason, it just worked out when we played it, but I can see where it could be difficult.
Yeah.
I like those. And we'll get into the rest of them. I like these kind of fights where it's like, alright, everything's on the line, let's just go for it. And then you get on longer cutscenes and...
Yeah. And the game ends, and ridiculous story. Yeah, I was about to mention, you might notice that we're not talking about the ending plot bomb, because the ending plot bomb has been dissected to death by just about everybody who's talked about this game, far better than we could ever do it, and we've already talked about this game for way too long. So, basically all you need to know is, the Patriots think are trying to control how things happen, and this was a huge test of that system, blah, blah, blah. That's basically all you need to know about it. Yeah. Because that's what goes into the next game, the next chronological game, which is Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yes.
So, and then Jack and Rose make up, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. And pregnancy and whatever. So, before we move on...
all the Patriots have been dead for 100 years. Dun, dun, dun.
Which... yeah. Makes no sense, because then they talk about how the Patriots were made in the 60s. Or 70s, or they talk about in the 4th.
Yeah, I think it's more... I think it was more just deliberate misinformation.
Yeah, it makes sense. I understand it. But just overall, quick thoughts. Metal Gear Solid 2, it gets a bad rap. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's better than people look at it? Or?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially if you go into it knowing that this was basically Kojima going, this is what you all look like. Like, a lot of Metal Gear Solid 2's design decisions were, I think, specifically tailored to go, I've lost my train of thought already. But basically, if you don't look at it as... yeah.
Well, basically, if you don't get upset that you're not playing a Solid Snake...
yeah, exactly.
And you just play it as a video game and not... go, well, Solid Snake would have done this or whatever, and just play it.
Yeah.
I wish there were more bosses. Mm-hmm. The bosses you play in Metal Gear Solid compared to Dead Cell are night and day, really. Mm-hmm. I wasn't a big fan of Dead Cell. I know you liked Fat Man, but he was kind of whatever.
Yeah.
We never really get into Fortune that much, and we don't even really... we have that one fight where you hide from her the whole time. Yeah. But we miss out on that great fight, and then Vamp is awesome and just ridiculous. And I'll give him that, and then you have Solidus. But, compared to the bosses of Metal Gear Solid, I think it misses the bar. Mm-hmm. But everything else, I think it's a very underrated game, and I have to give it that.
Yeah. Okay, so, Randy, I gotta do something here.
What are you doing?
Just when you think you have all the answers, I'm going to change the questions on you. Because we've been talking about Metal Gear Solid 2 for almost an hour now.
Have we really?
Yeah. And usually we try to keep these episodes to about an hour and 30 minutes. Now, I noticed this last Metal Gear episode that we kind of ran over time. And that was because we gushed so much about Metal Gear Solid
Yes.
1. Not so much the original Metal Gears,
Which
but
are
Metal
great.
Gear yeah, they're great games, but Metal Gear Solid 1 we kind of gushed over and, went plot by plot, which was mostly my fault. Anyway, it should become very clear to you guys listening at home that we are both big Metal Gear Solid fans. So, I'm making the decision right now that instead of trying to fit 2, 3, and 4 into, one episode, we're going to do an episode for each of those games. And instead of releasing them every other week, we are going to go ahead, and because this is a big, huge special month, we're going to release one every Tuesday. So, this has been the episode for Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. We will see you next week for the episode for Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. See you next mission, folks.
Oh, boy.